If you believe what we believe here at the Property Management Framebreakers podcast, then you understand that AI is going to start automating the mundane and elevating the critical, which, if you follow that path, it's going to lead to a world where anybody that's like a B minus, like player on your team, it's just going to be way less valuable to you. You'll be able to build this dream team of A players because AI will handle I just need a body to get it done, right? But not enough people are out there talking about how you actually hire A players, right? Like it's great to if you have them on your team, that's great. But how do you recruit them? How do you hire them? That is the genius that I heard in Pete Neubig at Tony Klein's mastermind event. And that's why I knew that I had to have him on the show. I had to have him, discuss this. Listen, I'll give it to Pete, man. I know that the platform that he has built and the platform that he is building, it's genius. It is the remote teammate economy for property managers. But if you look at the other remote teammate platforms, they see AI as a threat. I think Pete is embracing it, and coming on this show. And the relationship that I built with him is phenomenal. Pete's just like a brilliant guy, how he thinks about it. He just his life revolves around disc assessments and decision making. You're really going to enjoy this podcast about how to recruit and hire and ingrain into your culture A players with Pete Neubig. Enjoy. Welcome to the Property Management Framebreakers podcast. I'm your host, Pablo Gonzalez, and I am here to introduce you to the folks in the property management space that have broken the frame of what you may believe was possible. This podcast is presented by Vendoroo. It is your all-in-one AI solution for resolving your maintenance needs. Let's go. You're obviously somebody that's easy to hear about because you host NARPM Radio, you've been in the space a long time, you've built VPM solutions, right? Like you have this amazing track record. I got to meet you first, broker owner. You were just very graceful to just put me on the show. And I really, really appreciate it. But man, meeting you at Tony Klein's mastermind event, spending some time together there, and obviously hiking the Grand Canyon. We did have the notebook moment in the Grand
We
Canyon.
did have a moment. I mean, we decided to walk in the rain together
We did. We did.
before the hike started.
We did. We had the notebook moment. But what I've realized from you, man, is
Pablo,
that
complete me.
goodbye, my love. All right. So what I realized from you is that you do not go through more than two sentences without identifying whomever you're speaking about in their disc profile and who your disc profile is. And I think that as I've studied you more and listened to you speak, I realized that yes, you have built a platform for hiring remote talent, something I very, very much believe in, something I love my remote team. But the real genius behind it is a strategic approach to hiring. Would you say that that's accurate? Just my observation.
Absolutely. When I built the platform, right? Because there's Upworks and Fivers, there's a bunch of out there, and all they do is connect, right?
Yeah.
But what I try to build, and I'm still reaching that, I'm reaching that goal, is I'm trying to build a step-by-step process. Like most people that hire, right? They have all these systems in their property management firm, right? They got the maintenance system, the turn system, the lease renewal system, the onboarding system, the offboarding system, the eviction system. They have all these systems, but the one system they don't have, Pablo, is a hiring system. And
Mm.
because they don't have a hiring system, they hire the wrong people, right? And so in the platform, my goal is to have the platform be so intuitive and teach you how to step by step on how to hire that you don't need to pay even our Gold Glove package, right? Which is our do it, we do it for you package. I'm trying to basically what you're trying to do is get, take
Yep.
care of you don't need maintenance coordinators for Vendoroo. You don't need a recruiter by using VPM. That's where we're trying to get to. We're not quite there yet, but I don't know when this podcast will drop, but I can tell you in the next 2 weeks, we're going to actually have another assessment, like a disc assessment, which we have on the platform. It's called the
Mhm.
Hiring for Attitude Assessment, and it has 15 characteristics. And whoever takes that test, VA or company, it will by how they answer will tell you the top three characteristics that they have. And those characteristics are akin to core values. So if you basically look at those characteristics, you say, oh, these are kind of the top three that we really like, that we embody in our company. You can now match somebody based on an assessment that they've taken for the core values. So I'm looking at like, okay, core values, then it's training, then it's which I'll go into later. Then it's disc, and then of course, if you're not sure how to build a job description, we have templates already there. So every step of the hiring process we have built into VPN platform. So I'm a big fan of like having a hiring process, and I'll be more than happy to kind of go over what my process and what I've used today, which wasn't 20 years ago when I started, which was pretty terrible.
Yeah, yeah. I love that, dude. I love that. And I'll tell you, man, I think that you put it as just like we are saying you don't need maintenance coordinators, we're saying we don't need recruiters. I disagree with that. Like I don't think that we don't need maintenance coordinators. I think what we need is A players on our team that handle stuff because AI is going to be able to like give them superpowers, right? But I think that you and I are solving for the same problem. I think you and I are solving for the problem, which is employee churn is the biggest killer of a business possible, right? It's like the most expensive thing. It's the most psychologically taxing thing. It is the thing that takes the most, like, off of like an owner's standpoint, right? Like everybody wants to have a team full of A players, of people that they trust, that can work and do things like they would, right? So I feel like we are two sides of the same coin, and I think both sides of that coin will forever exist, right? Which is where I think we play really well together. So, what do you think about that, man? What do you think about the problem of employee churn? Do you believe that this is like a big thing in the industry? Is that why you
I
created the
do.
product this way?
But I think it's a big thing because small business owners don't know how to hire. They
Correct.
don't know how to manage. They don't know how to create, great culture.
Yeah.
And so, like, look, if you take a bad owner, right? That bad owner typically churns in less than 6 months. If you take in a bad resident, you're evicting that resident. Well, if you take in a bad team member, right? And a bad team member might be a good team member for somebody else, but they're bad for you because of the culture.
Yeah.
That's what like the hiring attitude. Like I'm a hard driver, right? I drive my team. We work hard. We make fun of each other. You have to have thick skin. Like I'm not politically correct. I'm data driven. And if that's not you, you are going to be not a good fit in our organization. That doesn't mean you're not a good fit in somebody else's organization. But if you don't know who your core values are and what your culture is, like I look at it like this, right? Jim Collins made this famous in his book Good to Great, right? And he used the analogy of the boat, right? And so just to get a ticket on the boat is your culture, is your core values. And if you don't know what they are and you don't know the person you're looking for to even get a ticket on the boat, then you got the wrong person. Doesn't matter what seat you put them in. It doesn't matter about this profile. That's the first level of defense. And so, yeah, I think what you said is spot on, but I think the churn rate, a lot of people blame property management for the churn. Oh, it's so stressful. It's this, it's that. And there's some truth to that. Don't get me wrong, right? There are people that are just not built correctly. Again, we can use disc profile, like you put them in the wrong seat,
Mhm.
because some person will thrive on stress. Other people will falter. Like if I'm a high S, I falter on stress. If I'm a high D, I love freaking stress, right? So it all depends on your hiring process. And if you don't have one and you don't know your core values, you don't know this, you don't know the job role, all that stuff, you cannot hire A players. You just can't. You might luck into one, but you're
Yeah.
not, it's not by design.
I like how you put, I like two things that you said there, right? I like this. I really like this idea of a bad owner, like, a bad customer or a bad vendor. You get rid of it so quickly, but a bad employee stays there and infects everybody around them for like way too long, and the cost is way too high. I think that's a genius insight. And then the other part I like, I'm a big Jim Collins fan, right seat of the right bus. The idea that the core values are the chassis of the bus. Like core values is what defines the vehicle, man. So a big believer in core values. I run my company with core values. We like live and die by them. I've had problems with clients, right, on my marketing side, right? Like my marketing company, when I'm like, hey, I think what you need is better core values here to understand what you were trying to attract. When I'm talking to my clients, just like business owner to business owner, and they'll push back, man, and they'll push back like, nah, man, I just believe in principles, or like we have core values, but that's a soft thing. Like, how do you help people understand and kind of define and make core values not just a plaque on the wall. Do you have a way of that you help people with?
Yeah, so I was that person. I thought core values hocus pocus, right? I'm like,
Yeah.
if you put me in front of like a speaker and they're talking about like mindset and yeah, rah rah, I'm out, right? I like the speakers that tell me this is what you do, right? Like, so I'm very like structured. So
Hmm.
I was one of those guys like this is hocus pocus. But now that I see it work, right? So when I tell people is I tell them about like, just my experience, right? When I didn't have core values or I just had them just to check the box and I put the placard on the wall, but we didn't
Hmm.
live by them,
Hmm.
then your team, like you don't really have core values.
Yeah.
So every company has core values, whether it's pushed down from you as the business owner down to the team, or the team creates the core values and it's pushed up to you, right? So for example, if you have people who show up late all the time, that's a core value. Not the one you want, but it's a core value that it's part of the culture, right? If people bring in challenges from outside the company into your company and you guys are dealing with it, over a pot of coffee, whatever, that's part of your culture, So what I've always told people, I'm like, look, you have core values, whether you have them or not. Are they the right core values? And what I try to do, Pablo, is I try to explain to them like what's in it for them, like where, like I try to show them what it looks like. Like
Hmm.
if you had these core values, all these people that embody these core values, you wouldn't have to step down from your 20,000 view down to the zero level view and start doing property management again or start doing maintenance coordination again. So I show them what their life could look like by having core values because that is the first step of getting those A players. And if you have A players, it allows you to level up. It allows you to take off all those other hats you're wearing and allows you to become ultimately CEO and ultimately business owner, right? I'm CEO of VPM. I don't plan to be CEO of VPM in 5 years. I plan to
Hmm.
be business owner and I hire the CEO. And so
Hmm.
that'll be the last hat that I take off. But
Yeah.
at VPM, I only own one hat right now. Whereas at Empire, I started off with all the hats. Empire is my property management firm. I was
Yeah.
the property manager, the assistant property manager, the leasing coordinator, the real estate agent, you name it,
Yeah.
except for accountant. I offloaded that one real quick.
Yeah.
But so the way I do it is you just show them what their life could look like. Just like if you have a team member and you're talking about growth, they all get like, oh my God, growth. I get nervous. I'm going to be stressed out. But then you show them what growth means. It means
Yeah.
more people. It means high. It means getting technology like Vendoroo. It means making your life easier. And it means, oh, by the way, now I can get benefits for y'all. Now I can give you bonuses. Now I can increase your salary. Now you don't have to work weekends and nights. And all of a
Hmm.
sudden, like, oh, so if you show people what's in it for them,
Yeah.
it's a great way to get them to get on board with the hocus pocus of core values.
I like it, man. When I talk about what's in it for you when it comes to core values, right? Like my business coach Jerry McNamara, he talks about kind of like it's like you have to have a vision, that's kind of the destination, and then the core values is the roadmap, like the rules you play by as you go over there, right? So it's like I like to describe core values as velocity in decision making, right? Like if you can make it clear how you make decisions and what you won't get, you're not going to get punished for making a mistake, but you are going to get punished for violating a core value, right? So it's like if people understand what's safe for them to like the sandbox of which they can play in, then that increases velocity and that takes the I have to make every decision for everybody thing off of the business owner,
100.
right?
Dude, it is an invisible manager that
Yeah.
allows your teammates to make decisions,
Yeah.
right? So now you don't have to make all the decisions.
Yeah.
It becomes a manager. And like a core value is not like I used to think a core value is integrity. That's not a core value. Yeah, I want to hire somebody without integrity. Let's go find that person, right? Like that's just the basis of it. So anybody has integrity in their core values, like I used to have integrity in my core values. Now that's just like that is the Mendoza line. You gotta have integrity,
Yeah.
right? So what
Yeah.
are the other core values that we're looking for, which is, and then of course you have these sub values, right? Which is because you don't put all your core values on. Like for example, like I said earlier, like we make fun of each other. Like you have to have thick skin. Even my remote team members that work for me make fun of me. Like that's just the way it is, right? But that's not a core value. Like we don't say, oh, core value is like we make fun of each other. That's just part of the culture, right? It's a
Yeah.
subculture. But you have to know your culture. And the culture it literally comes down from the head down. And if you're like thin-skinned, your team's going to be thin-skinned. If you're thick-skinned, your team should be thick-skinned. So you get to basically create your own culture and your own rules. And I think as a CEO, business owner, that is your number one job. your number one job is really creating the culture. And then of course, vision and strategy and and implementation, all that stuff. But property management, Pablo, is a collection of people.
Mm,
That's all we are. Like without the people, you don't really have a company. So especially because we're service-based industry. No matter how
mm,
much tech we use or whatever
yeah.
it is, we're still gonna have people, right? And so those people are your number one asset. And of course, it's your number one expense
Yep.
by
True.
far, especially now that most people are operating without an
Remote.
office space.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That makes sense, man. Last thing on core values, because I do want to get into kind of like the hiring process and like finding the best talent. But I do think it's super relevant that like you're only an A player if you know what the, like what the core values are, right? Like Michael Jordan, A plus basketball player, C minus baseball player, right? So, depending what you're hiring, what the rules of the game you're hiring for are. I agree that as an owner, you set kind of the culture, right? I've also seen the idea that if you have a hand, like if you give your team a hand in co-creating the core values, then they own it more versus just like this is who we are and this is what we do, right? So like I've like I know that in my company, for example, we got really, I don't know if we got lucky or it just is what it is, right? But like when we created our core, when we co-created our core values, there was a lot of just, we had been together, everybody was just kind of like relationships over transaction driven, and like all the kind of like core things that I believe in and I stand for because I think I attract that stuff. But then there was also this idea of them recognize it in themselves and then us like cementing, yes, this is the thing, the common thread between all of us. And that was really valuable versus just me like saying, hey guys, this is what this is and let's go do this. What's your experience been in that of kind of like top down versus bottom up or an amalgamation of that?
Yeah, so I disagree with you on this, but I
Cool.
don't think not vehemently. I
Yeah.
just think that it should come from the top down, and it should be the leadership team, right? So not the whole team, but part of the team. So that's why I'm like, don't fully disagree. The
Okay.
leadership team, and what we did is we identified all of our top performers in our company, and we said, okay, what qualities do they have, and then what do we want in the rest of our people? And that's how
Mm,
we built that's how we built an empire. With VPM, we looked at what are our top three people over the last 3 years and our bottom three people, and what qualities do the bottom three people have, what qualities the top three people have over the last 3 years. And we were able to come up with values there. And again, it was a leadership team. So I'm not a big kumbaya guy. Like I listen to everybody, but at the end of the day, even with my partners, I'm the CEO. So I make final decision. Everybody gets their say, I make the final decision and we move on. So I think the more democratic you make it, the harder it is. I think you got very lucky because you did attract those right people and you already had very similar vision of the values already. But if you had like, oh, but Marge, Marge doesn't embody any of our core values, but Marge wants to put in there like, hey, one of our values should be that we take 5 cigarette breaks. All right, we should get paid for not doing anything. Like,
yeah.
okay, like you already know that Marge is on her way out. So I don't want Marge to have any freaking input in our core values. I want my leadership team and I want to push it down. And then not you don't just push it down, put it on the wall, right? You have to live those values. So we have company meetings every month and we go over core values at our company meeting every month. And I literally call on people, what's our one of our core values? Give customers a wow experience. What does that mean to you? It means this, this, this. Okay, well, who's somebody in our organization that embodied that core value over the last month? Oh, well, Connor did X, Y, and Z, right? And then what I do is I actually have all of our core values, and then if you're familiar with above the line, below the line, but above the line is it's ownership, accountability, responsibility, and I put levels of all of our core values. So we have WHIP is our core values plus OR. I'm a big acronym guy, and I said does not meet core values, meets core values, and exceeds core values. And I
Mm,
give examples. So this way everybody knows, like, what does a wow customer experience mean? Well, it doesn't mean just answering the question. It means anticipating the next question and answering that. It means going above and beyond. It means not waiting for the phone call to ring. It means you reaching out. So I have like little examples of this and we go over that, one of them each month as well. And then the last thing we do is like we ask people, can even after we go over core values, does anybody want to call somebody out about how they embody our core values? And honestly, honestly, Pablo, sometimes it's 3 minutes long, sometimes it's 20 minutes long. And it's the one piece of our company meeting that I let go over and I will take time back from other things. That's how important I think it is.
Cool. I love it, man. I love it. I think we're very in line with this idea of living it and how important they are. Let's move into the actual, all right, you know who you are, right? You got your core values. It's a bat signal. So you know like who you should attract. How do you find and then get great people to work for you, Pete? Like once you know who you are.
Okay, so you know who you are. The next thing you need to do is you need to really understand what the job role that you're hiring for is. When you're super detailed and you know what's going on, just like any vision, you're gonna be able to spot that person. And more importantly, you're gonna be able to write the job posting, which I'll talk about here in a minute, about
Mhm.
attracting that right person. Okay. When you are ambiguous on your job posting, it means you don't know what the hell they're supposed to do. And I run into this a lot. Oh, Pete, I want a virtual assistant. It's so cheap. It's $10 an hour, $5 an hour, six, whatever it is. Great. What are they going to do for you? Answer phones. What else? All other duties assigned by management. I'm like, that's a recipe for failure. Like, and if you like, you need the right. So we got to put them in the right seat. But what's the instructions of the seat? That's your job description. Now, your job description gets you to know exactly what they should do. You should be able to understand what that personality profile is, whether you use DISC or Myers-Briggs or anything else. And then
Mhm.
each job role in your organization needs to have a KPI, a key performance indicator, a metric that lets them know if they're doing a good job, but lets you know if they're doing a good job. So then you build a job posting from that. Now, people get the job description or job posting, they think it's the same. It's kind of
Mhm.
like they think sales and marketing is the same. It's not. The job description is internal and it's
Mhm.
really boring to look at, but it tells you exactly what you're supposed to do. The job posting should attract the type of person you're looking for. So
Mhm.
we have a format that we use. The first part of the job posting is kind of like questions or bullet points about the type of person we're looking for, core values. Are you a hard charger, whatever? Are you like this, right? Then we take those bullet points from the job description and we use GPT to combine them to like 4 or 5 bullet points, right? And we have these bullet points. So it kind of gives the person looking at it like, so now they read the first part. Anybody who's not those core values, not attracted, they're going to stop reading. Anybody who's got those core values, that culture, they're going to read on. Then they had the 4 or 5 bullet points. So it's not overwhelming. It's not 25 bullet points. They see 4 or 5, they get an understanding of what that job role looks like. Then we finish up with more questions or comments, and that's more disc profile. Right. So now it's like, oh, okay, this is like me. I do like spreadsheets, or I do love talking to people, or, I do like a high stress environment, whatever it is. So now I got the core values, I got the understanding of what I'm supposed to do, and I'm attracting the right disc personality profile. The job posting, I don't want 100 people, I want
Mhm.
10 of the right people to respond to my ad. So a lot of people get the job posting wrong. Like, and look, I've been taught by my business coach, Doug Winnie, cast a big net, get a bunch of people. I don't believe in that anymore. I believe in casting a big net, but only attracting the right people for the job posting. And so that's the next piece of it, right? So then I have now.
Hold on. I just wanna kind of like talk about how smart that is, right? Like what I'm hearing is most people are thinking job posting, and you're thinking job ad, right?
Yes,
And
marketing.
and
It's
wh- and what
marketing.
I hear in your framework, right? Like there's me, in my world, right? Like there is the framework of like hook, story, offer, right? That's how you stop the scroll. That's how you get somebody to like buy in, and then you like get them to enroll. And what I'm basically hearing from you is the hook is the core values, right? Like if the core values speak to you, you're going to be like, oh, okay, cool. Like you're in. The story is
The
like
type of
job
company, this is the type of
responsibilities.
company I want to work for.
This is the type of company I want to work for, right? Like the story is job responsibilities. The
Mhm.
offer then becomes this is for people like this, right? Like that fit this disc profile. And that by itself is like its own little kind of like advertising funnel that helps you get to the right person. And I just wanted to reframe it that way because I just see real genius in that structure. That's cool, man.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. The hook story and
Hook story offer.
hook
Yeah,
story
yeah,
offer. I love that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So your job posting really, as you think about it, it's marketing.
Yeah, it's
Right?
marketing.
I'm trying to market to the right people
Yeah.
who want to come work for me.
Yeah, it reminds me of way before I ever identified as a marketer in any way, right? Like that's only been in like the last 3 years. But when I was like 24 years old, 25 years old in California, I rented this, like I was renting this house and I needed to get a roommate. And this was like Craigslist days, right? And I remember writing this like roommate posting on Craigslist that was just completely outrageous, bro. Like it, like it was like, like it was just a very much like, like I don't remember what the posting was, but I said stuff like, hey, you can't polish a turd, but you also, so we're not gonna like keep this too clean, but you can't beat the location, right? Like, and like, like different things that just attracted somebody that could absolutely just understand the vibe of what we've been living in and what the experience is. And of course, the guy that ended up being my roommate, the two guys that like I sorted out as the last two guys to pick are two of my best friends to this day, 20 years later, kind of thing, right?
That's
So it's
perfect.
like, so just like the thinking through what a posting is versus like what you can do with it and like how you throw out a bat signal of like the type of person you want to attract is like super
Go
super smart that I don't think a lot of people
If
think
you're
about.
listening to this, go on Indeed right now and go
Yeah.
type in, some kind of job, and I promise you, every job posting looks the same.
Yeah.
It's all very technical. Bullet
Yeah.
points. This is what you have to do. And it's like, this is what you have to do for us. What
Yeah.
about what you can offer them? Right? Do
Yeah.
you want to work in a hard charging environment? Do you like this? Do you like, that's you're looking for dude, you're looking for like somebody who's going to basically be part of your team. Like, how many times you heard of a baseball team or a basketball team where they just have this one guy, he just spoils the bunch, and they get rid of him, no matter how talented he is, they ship him off to another
Mhm.
team, and all of a sudden the team starts performing better.
Patrick Ewing theory? Is that what we're talking about?
What
I
is the
just
Patrick Ewing theory? I love Patrick
Patrick,
Ewing.
I knew like you as a New Yorker. I remember like when the Knicks kind of like started their downfall, they thought that they would like addition by subtraction with Patrick Ewing and like try to get rid of him for whatever, never really recover from that. But
Yeah.
yes, you do see that in sports. You do see like the big like succubus like star leaves or like the disgruntled guy leaves and all of a sudden everybody's way better the next year, minus that one person. Yeah, yeah. All right, cool, man. So then what's the next step? So we got the job ad down.
So I know my core values. I know my instructions for the seat. I know the posting. So I'm going to advertise.
I wanted to stop right here because I feel like this idea of writing job postings as an ad is so freaking brilliant that you should go back and listen to it again. Such low hanging fruit that you can implement in your business right now. It reminds me of a strategy that we were thinking about that we never had kind of like the courage to pull off, or maybe it was just the bandwidth. But as you know, right now, agentic AI is becoming a teammate, right? It's become a teammate. It's able to, for our Vendoroo agents, are able to take jobs that people don't want to do inside of your company off your hands, right? Like the phone calls that each take like an average of 18 to 20 minutes to figure out what's going on and create a work order or get you to someone. The troubleshooting and triaging of every single work order, the perfect work order creation that your vendors are going to know, the endless coordination between vendors and residents and the follow-up to get that stuff. Our clients at Vendoroo are automating, 85% to 95% of these touch points and leaving just the really, really important touch points to people. And that means that our agents have a job description. So we were thinking of, not doing like cold outbound or anything like that, right? Like, but responding to job for remote teammates that had these jobs as Vendoroo, just because it's there, right? We haven't done it yet. I would love to hear your feedback on it. But more than anything, if you have a job posting out there for that job description, I encourage you to give Vendoroo a try. It is what it is built to do, and it is built to not just like troubleshoot and learn and whatever. It's teach and scale. You teach it once, it learns it forever. It's able to do it as you grow. It gives your team superpowers to have these AI teammates. Go to vendoroo.ai, check it out. All right, back to Pete.
Next thing is you need to know what the disk profile is,
Yeah.
right? So the best example I always give is, I hire somebody who's a high I. So what that means is they're outgoing, flamboyant, they're great at sales, but no detail. So I
Yeah.
hire some high I for my accountant who needs to be super detailed, right? We don't want him to be outgoing, we want to be kind of an introvert, we want to be policy, process oriented, not people oriented. I'll give you an example. One time I had this one girl, she needed a job. I could tell she needed a job. She came in, she was a teacher, she was a high I, and she came in for a bookkeeping role. And I said, "You don't love bookkeeping." She goes,
Hmm.
"Oh no, but I can, I can figure it out. I'm great at this." I'm like, "No, you should be a salesperson. Like do not." And I did not hire her. I will not hire you if you're not the right disc profile. Now, I do have an exception to every rule. If
Hmm.
you are, I don't know, let's just say you're a high I, but you've been doing bookkeeping for 20 years, you figured
Yeah.
it out. Like you've learned how to become a high C.
Hmm.
And so, okay, so like that, I figured you've done it for 20 years, you can figure it out. That's the only time that I really focus on the personality profile.
Pete, let me just kind of like do like a asking for a friend here, right? Like I've dealt with disc profiles before. I feel like it's out of like the personality profiles, it's the easiest to just kind of like intuitively understand. I
Mm.
wonder how many people like you clearly are like so fluent in disc profile. You're like D and I and C and blah. But like, can we give a little kind of breakdown of like what the D, I, S, and C is and what the disc profile is just for somebody that isn't,
Yeah.
like kind of
Thank you. So
yeah.
the DISC is a personality profile, and the D stands for dominance, the I for influence, the S for steadiness, and the C for conscientiousness. And
Mm,
each one has kind of like, like D dominant. The D and the I are on the top. If you draw a circle, like so, everybody take out your pen and paper, draw a
mm,
circle, and then put a line through it and a line across it. Then type D, I, D in the top left, I in the top right, S in the bottom right, and C in the bottom left. The D and the I are extroverts. The I and the S are people focused. The I and the C are introverts, and the D and the C are process focused. All right, so what happens is we're all like now, granted, this is high level. It's like the tip of the iceberg. There are personality profiles that get really, really in depth. And I find for me, they almost become too much, and I get identity
cumbersome.
paralysis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So we're all born with a majority of one of these four, and then we have a kind of a secondary. Right. So I'm a DC.
Yeah.
Now you can learn to become other different. Like a different personality type. But when you get stressed out, you go back to your original.
Mm.
Right. So in this example, the girl is an I. She learned to be a C potentially, but when she gets stressed, she's going to become an I. And do you think we get stressed in the property management business or just being business owners?
Would guess, yeah.
All the time, right? So I always look for like, okay, what's their personality profile? What do they look like when they get stressed? Most of the time, if you're a DC, what happens is your secondary trait goes away and your primary trait goes up through the roof. So
Hmm.
like when I get stressed, I become a higher D. What that
Yeah.
means is my C goes away. And so that means I don't look at data when like when I get stressed and I make decisions,
Mm. You just
I'll
look
make
for control.
I'm making fast. I want
Yeah.
control and I make
Yeah.
fast, quick decisions, whether they're right or wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas somebody, if they got stressed and became a higher C, they're going to slow it down. They're not going to make a decision, maybe analysis
Mm.
paralysis, and they're going to go out and they're going to just look at, like, grab as much data as they can. So that gives you kind of an example of what DISC
Yeah.
does.
That was a really good example, man. I did a disc profile, like a very rudimentary disc profile in like early 2019. And it basically said that I'm like a unbelievably exaggerated I, slightly positive D, and then negative in everything else.
Yeah,
And
that I would have put you as an I.
yeah, yeah. I think I scream I wonder, I've been told go take that thing again, right? Because I feel like 5 years later, 6 years later, I'm like such a way better leader. I think about things very differently, and I've embraced like I don't think I'm ever going to be like a C, right?
No.
But like I wonder if my D has gone up just out of like, is there
Oh,
variability to
absolutely.
this
I
stuff?
think, look, your personality is gonna, like whatever you're born with, that's what you're born with. And when you get
Yeah,
super stressed, you're gonna go right to that. But over time, especially good leaders, you're gonna get closer to center,
yeah.
right? So very few people are 25% D, I, S, and C. I have very, very rarely seen it. I have seen it once or twice, but very rarely seen it, right?
Mm.
So you can get closer to center, but I promise you, Pablo, if you're in a stressful environment, all those go away, your eye comes back out. And when you have to, the way you have to work a problem, you have to talk it out, right?
Yeah,
You're going to be
for sure.
talking and you're going to be hand movement and you're going to be doing all this stuff. And you're going to talk to 1,000 people, right?
Yes.
You're going to have to, I
Yes.
got to call Fred. I got to call Pete. I got to call
Yeah.
Jim, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how, when you get stressed, that's how you deal with it. And there's nothing to stop that, right?
Yeah.
I can promise you, I can manipulate a disc test now. If
Yeah.
I'm not super honest, right, I can manipulate it because I know what the answers they're looking for. I know which one's D, I, S, and C now because I know
Yeah.
it so well, right? So when I take them, I try to be as objective as possible and try to be as honest as possible because I really want to know what I am. What do I
Yeah.
really think, not what I'm trying to become.
Got it. Well, all right. So help our friend that's been listening to us right now. You are, one of the other things that, apart from like what makes your platform unique, being this idea that you're really just like a hiring expertise platform, you're also the only platform that's fully committed to the property management space, and that by itself is incredibly valuable for our friend that's hanging out with us. Can you give me like a general breakdown of roles in property management and scores that you're trying to get in disc, right? Like is yeah, okay, go.
Let's start with the easy ones, right?
Yeah.
Salesperson, I plus a D,
Mm.
right? So I know you have D in you because you close. If you're an I and you're a salesperson and you have no D in you, you become friends with everybody,
Yeah.
but you don't close.
That's who I was when I took that test. And now I feel like I can close these days. But yeah, continue.
That's right.
All right.
All
Yeah.
right. So now let's look at maintenance coordinator, right? Maintenance
Mhm.
coordinator, what should they be? Well, most of your roles in property management are going to have some type of C in them.
Yeah.
There's details in it, right? And you're doing some repetitive tasks. It's not always repetitive. Maintenance coordinator is not repetitive. What I'm getting at is you still have
Yeah.
to take the ticket. You still have to make the phone call. You
Yeah.
still have to put the notes in.
Stick to the system.
That's right. You have to
Yeah.
be process oriented.
Yeah.
I like my maintenance coordinators to be C with a little bit of D. Now, a lot of
Mhm.
people like C with a little bit of S. Depends on your culture, depends on how you run your business, right?
Mhm.
So why do I not like CS? Okay, well, have you ever had a tenant push your maintenance coordinator around to get something approved and then
Mhm.
the owner gets pissed off, right?
Yeah.
A CS is going to be detail oriented. They could do repetitive tasks, but the S is empathetic. The S doesn't like a lot of
Conflict.
conflict, right? And
Yeah.
so the S is going to acquiesce. Whereas a CD, they're going to tell you stuff like it's the policy, which is not the right answer either. But they're going to be a little bit more hard nosed, and they're going to say
Mhm.
no. Now the CD can get you in trouble on the other side when you're talking to the owner, and they basically tell the owner, "Go pound sand. This is how we do it. This is our policy," right? Which no one wants to hear. So again, that comes in with some training and all that stuff. But so CD, right? Your HR people, your front office person, your person that is dealing with your team, you want them to be kind of more of an S, right?
Mhm.
SC or just an S. There
Mhm.
can only be so many D's in your company. Typically,
Mhm.
the CEO is a D. Now, if you have managers, maybe some of your managers are D's as well, maybe DCs, but
Yeah.
really you want few D's. You want mostly C's. Like your leasing assistant's going to be a C, right? Your realtor is going to be an I, and your salesperson, I, what do they suck at? They suck at details. They suck at the paperwork. So what we do is we hire assistant BDMs, assistants to the realtor, and they
Yeah.
become your transaction coordinator. They run your CMAs. They do your property management agreements. They feed all the information into the CRM,
Yeah.
things of that nature.
I assume that the property management org chart is a high C org chart because of the need for process and the need to stick to that type of stuff and everything else
I'll give
varies.
you one more. Marketing. A lot of people think marketing is sales and marketing should be a high I. Marketing is actually a C because
Mhm.
of marketing, right? What you're doing is you're sending something out and then you're looking at the data. How many leads came in from this? And then they're tweaking it and they have to tweak and they may run the same ad
Yeah.
15 times, just tweaking different things to see where they get the best results from, right? But if you have a marketing coordinator that goes out and talks to people and they're building relationships, now
Yeah.
you're talking more of an S or an I than you
Yeah.
are a C.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So we have the know yourself, know who you're looking for, know how to put the bait in the water to get the right fish to bite
That's
that
right.
you want. What's the process, man? Like I feel like so many people are so reactive when it comes to hiring. They just need a body, right? So it's like this feels good. All right, let's go. And I feel like these first kind of like filters are really really good, but I assume that there has to be a good back end of just like system there too, right?
There's more, but let me go even before that. A
Yeah.
lot of people hire too late. Whether it's because they don't think they have enough money, or whether it's because they don't know the business so well, so they don't know when they're going to get busy.
Yeah.
When we got really good at this at Empire, our property management firm, we started knowing the door count. After so many doors, we know we need to hire a property manager or a maintenance coordinator or a leasing coordinator or whatever it was. And then we knew how many leads we're getting. We knew
Hmm.
how many doors were closing. We knew how many doors we were losing. So we knew our
Hmm.
net positive each month. And so I can extrapolate out, okay, in 5 months, we're gonna need somebody. Well, it takes me a month to train them, and it takes me 2 weeks or a month to find them. That means I got to start the process 2 months out, 3 months to go. This way, when I do need them, I'm not
Hmm.
looking for them because now I'm a month behind. Now I got to train them. Now I'm another month behind.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So once you know your economics and your metrics and all that stuff, and by the way, the rule of thumb is if you can find somebody, if you can afford 50% of their salary and they can do it 80% as good as you hire them. That's kind
Mm.
of like my business coach basically taught me.
50% of the salary, 80% as good as you. It's a green light.
It's a green light. All
Yeah.
right, so now you put this
Financially.
out there financially. Yep.
Yeah.
Now you put this out there, and now you're starting to get all these applications, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully not as many as you did with the generic one, right? And you're getting the right people. Okay,
Mhm.
so now I don't want to waste my time interviewing 25 people. I really don't, right? Now, if they didn't do a disc, send them the disc. Give them a deadline, right? So you got 48 hours or 24 hours to get me this disc profile back.
Mhm.
Right. So now, boom. And then if they match the disc, they move to the next. If they don't match the disc, they're in the bit bucket. Okay. Now, what I built a VPM, and you can use this if you like. There's also some other. I built a VPM academy that the remote team members can take courses and they test out and they have to pass the course and they get a VPM certification. And I have courses like on maintenance coordination. I have courses
Mhm.
on executive assistant, courses on property meld, lead simple, things of that nature. If you don't want to use VPM, there's a company called I think it's called GorillaTest.com, and they have a ton of tests. And I make people take at least a test or two before they even can get interviewed. If you're unwilling to go through this red tape that I'm providing, I'm
Mhm.
unwilling to interview you.
Yeah. Love
So
that.
now you have to take the test. You have to pass the test. That tells me one, you're hungry, right? That's part of my core values. Are you going to go above and beyond, right?
Mhm.
You're hungry, you like the material, and you have short-term memory. You're coachable, you're trainable, right? That's
Mhm.
what I'm looking for. Then now they've passed this test. They've given me the disc. The next thing I do is I do a self interview. So I have specific questions that we ask. Again, this is built inside of VPM. We have 7 questions. They're built to let me know if they're going to be a good fit for us culturally. So I take those 7 questions and I have them do a self interview. You can use VPM or I think it's called Self Flix or HireFlix. Hire
Mhm.
FLIX, hireflix.com, where they can do this. And now, if they're unwilling to do a self interview, Bitbucket. If
Mhm.
they do the self interview, you take that interview. What we did is we built a GPT that lets me know if they're a high performer, mid performer, or low performer. And I'll
Mhm.
talk about that here in a second. But then
Mhm.
after that, and only after that, if they still pass, then I interview. So I only want to interview a few people. Honestly, if I can interview one person, they've already done all the work. I'm just there just to make sure that, just to double check culturally that they're a good fit.
Mhm.
When you interview people, you should always record it because you're going to miss stuff, right? And you should always rewatch it. When there's certain aspects of an interview that you might miss that you need to go back and look at. For example, high performers use different language than low performers. For example, high performers, when you ask them a question like, "Tell me a time when you dealt with a difficult customer." All right. So notice how I answered that question, how I asked that question. Tell me a time you dealt with a difficult customer. Not,
Yeah.
I didn't add and how you solved it,
Yeah.
right? Because that's a leading question. You're basically saying you solved it, right? So tell me a time you dealt with a difficult customer. A high performer is going to go back in their memory bank and they're going to then tell you a specific instance where they dealt with a difficult customer and how they overcame it and how they made it successful. A
Mhm.
low performer is going to tell you, well, when you deal with difficult customers, you should do this. You see, they don't
Yeah.
have a specific instance, a specific thing that they can recall.
Yeah. They're not going to give you something contextual. They're just going to give you like a overall thing.
Overall,
Yeah.
right? Another thing is high performers use we pronouns. Right? I did this, we did this, we're doing this, I am responsible for this.
Mhm.
Where the low performers use third person pronouns, and then low performers going to use the should, could, would, whereas the high performers, we did this, we've done that, did this.
Got it.
So
Got it.
there's lots of verbiage that people use that if you can put that into a GPT, it will
Yeah.
tell you if they're a high performer or not. I'll give you a hint. Hiring for Attitude. Go out and buy that book, and it goes over all this stuff, and you could build your GPT from there.
I love it, man. So, what I'm hearing is this idea of ask open-ended questions. Look for, are they speaking from experience or from theory? Was one, right? Are they, and then that tells you like, have they been there before or are they full of crap? Are
Yep.
they speaking in I's and we's versus they, which tells you their kind of like sense of ownership? and
Yep.
and whether or not they like see themselves as like the world happening for them or to them kind of thing, right? And then the last piece that you said, oh, what was the last piece that you said? So it was the I, we, the
The experiences, I, we, oh, and they use they, them, they use the third person pronouns. They don't talk they talk in generalities.
yeah, 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 yeah. And then just the God, I remember you said a third thing. I think when I write a newsletter about this, I'm gonna be able to rewatch this and find it and segment it. Okay, so that's interview questions. The other thing I'm hearing is like create tests, right? Like give people tests that like whether it's on VPM solutions and you already have tests for jobs, but like create a scenario where you get to like see, does somebody complete a task in an allotted amount of time or does it take longer than they think, and
Yep.
how do they do on this thing is a good way of doing it. What do you think about like contextual tests, right? Like, so if someone is um I hire a lot of like video editor, graphic designer types, right? And I'll send them I'll send them an interview with Pete Neubig, and I'll say, hey, pick out 3 things that make Pete look really smart. Pick out 2 things that make him sound like he's friends with Vendoroo, like, and make me a video kind of thing. And I'll give him that task. Does that exist in the world of property management, kind of like a task based homework, or is it also like client
I
facing that it's hard to role play that?
This is what's great about business. You can do whatever you want. You know, what I mean?
Yeah,
Like you can give them a register, a fake register, say, hey, I need you to
yeah,
tell me what's wrong with this register. Something like
mhm,
that, right? You can
yeah,
give them a test on AppFolio.
yeah,
Hey, here's 5 to 10 questions about AppFolio. Tell me how to do X, Y, and Z. What I've read, I haven't done this. What I've read, if you give them a really difficult task, like you give them work, right? What you
yeah,
did. If they don't get the job, then what some companies do is they pay them like, here's $100.
yeah,
You didn't get the job, but I don't think if you're asking them to do like a 20-minute or an hour or a
yeah. It depends on the
test,
test. Yeah,
yeah. For us, like we hire developers now. Believe
yeah,
me, you're not hiring like I'm not hiring a developer that doesn't go through a development test.
yeah.
Like you got to build some stuff, and you got to build it in a certain time frame. And if you don't, we move on to the next person.
I like that. Is there anything else in the cycle then? I mean, it sounds like you put people through tests. Then it's like I remember you talking to us in Colorado saying that they'll talk to at least another member of your team, and by the time they get to you, it's like a vibe check,
Yeah.
right? Can we talk
So
about that?
yeah, so I don't do all the hiring anymore, right? Because I have a layer under me now, but I still do the final interview. So if you're a business owner and maybe you're, property management owner and you're super busy, I get it. And maybe you even have 20, 30 people working for you. Your team should do teach your team all of this stuff that we just went over.
Yeah,
Let the team interview them, interview the folks. And then if they find somebody's really good, then you do the final interview, and all you're really doing at that point is culture fit. You're not asking, how do you log into AppFolio or how do you, do
yeah,
a register. You're not asking any of that stuff. It's skill-based questions. You're asking questions like you need to devise questions that let me know that they're a high performer, or let you know that they're a high performer, or let you know that they are going to be a good fit culturally.
yeah. What do your vibe check questions look like?
So I ask a lot of questions like tell me a time you gave wow customer experience. Tell me a time you were innovative. Right? So the wow and innovative are 2 of our core values, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a time when you got punched in the mouth but you stayed positive. Or tell me a time
Yes.
you got punched in the mouth, not even stayed positive. Right?
Yeah.
Tell me a time when you had a difficult situation. Tell me a time when you had a difficult customer. Tell me a time when you didn't get. So notice that. Just tell me a time. Tell me a time. Tell me a time.
Yeah.
Tell
Yeah.
tell me an instance. Tell me, whatever. And I'm looking to make sure passion's one of them. Like when I hire developers, I said, tell me a time when, you're up against the deadline and you weren't going to hit the deadline. Well, so I'm so passionate about development that I was going to hit that deadline because I was going to work nights, weekends. I actually work weekends on fun stuff. I develop on if you don't develop on the weekend for fun, I don't hire you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Dude, did you ever see the Defiant Ones, that documentary on like Dr. Dre and Jimmy IV on HBO about how they came up with like Beats headsets?
No,
So
I have not.
it's epic, bro.
It's
It's like a
on it's
three or
on
four part. It was on HBO. I think it's probably still on HBO.
okay.
Jimmy IV is a guy that's worked with like every big name that you've ever heard of, like behind the scenes as like they're like producer, and then Dr. Dre, you know who Dr. Dre is. And
Didn't
it
they,
and it
didn't they steal the technology?
I don't know. I don't know, but they ended up like basically both of them, as rich as they were, the most money that they've ever made was selling Beats by Dre to Apple, right?
Apple.
Like, and it's just like it's an unbelievable kind of like history of music that you can relive, and it's really really cool. But it's also just like a deep case study into these super passionate, like game changing dudes. And in one of the scenes, Dr. Dre talks about, or Jimmy talked about, but somebody was just like, I ask anybody that I'm hiring, what's the longest that you have, what's the longest you have stayed up to finish a project that you were like really, really passionate about? And he's like, if somebody hasn't told me, right, like these guys are fanatics, right? Like they're like, if somebody hasn't told me that they've worked 5 days straight with no sleep on a creative project, I'm not into it, right? Like, but it's those types of questions I do find, for a developer, for sure, a developer has like done an all nighter, like wired in coding and stuff like that, right? I don't know if that exists for property management, but these like passion style kind of like how you respond when stuff really really matters, I imagine has a lot of treasure there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
I remember Dr. Dre when in what is that what
The
was
Chronic.
the no when the movie coming back they did a movie on NWA.
Oh yeah, 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 straight out of Compton.
Do you remember some of the scenes? He was working all night just
Yeah,
producing beats.
yeah,
And
he's just legendary for that,
yeah,
man.
he's
He's
just
legendary for
yeah.
that.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that taught passionate. Like yeah,
Passion. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I need passion.
Anything else, Pete, on the hiring process and stuff that you like sharing on that?
I will say this, okay?
Yeah.
Once you hire somebody,
Yeah.
you still have to train them and you have to manage them. People want to be managed.
Yes.
And we have a lack of that in our industry. And people, they want to do a good job. So managing them means having a structured like meeting with them weekly and going over an agenda. That's what that means. And then I will tell you this. This was told to me by a business coach. I didn't believe him until it happened to me. If you have an A player and you have a C player, and that C player does not get managed and you don't get rid of them, at some point your A player will leave.
Yes.
And one day I had Ashley and Dana working for me. Ashley was A player, Dana was a D player.
Yeah.
Ashley comes to my office. She came in early, always did her job, didn't like no stress, no outside forces coming in. She just was great and she always hit her deadlines. She comes into my office and hands me her 2 week notice. I said, "What the hell? I thought you were happy." She goes, "I'm leaving because you didn't do anything with that." And she pointed over at Dana. Dana
Mm.
came in late all the time, disheveled. We had to reprimand her. She would take too many breaks. Her outside life came into our business all the time. And right then and there, I said, holy crap. So if you're listening to this and you know who your D players are, I promise you, D players don't leave you because it's kind of like if I'm a model and I'm a 10, I have something called options, right? I can get rid of your butt and I can go find somebody else. But if I'm a Quasimodo and I'm with, somebody who's much better than me, I don't have options. So I'm going to stick around until you get rid of my ass.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true, man. It's true. Listen, dude, when you said that, I immediately like reverted back to like my first managerial role when I lived in California and making those same mistakes, right? Like I remember telling my A player, yeah, we just got to deal with stuff like that because we're in like the insulation business and we don't have great employees. And that attitude made me lose some really, really great people because they're
Yeah.
just like, screw that, man. I'm not gonna like, you got to hold a high standard. And I think I don't know, man, one of those famous tech guys that say like a team of right like a small team of A players will outperform like a big team of B players. And the moment that you hire a B player, the next hire is a C player because it just starts to bring down the
Oh,
average, right? Yeah,
yep.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, and somebody's name popped in your head, you know what you need to do.
You know what you need to do.
You need to do, and like you don't have to get rid of them now, but create the process. Like go put the job posting out there. Go hire somebody. Deal with double pay for a short period of time, and then get rid of the person. You don't
Yeah.
want to cut your nose to spite your face. And Pablo, next time we talk, I will tell you about the time where I fired all four of my property managers on the same day.
Woo! Okay, teaser. I like that. All right, man. Dude, I appreciate doing this with you, man. I really I'm very grateful for our friendship and like how it's kind of like happened organically through these like moments that we've had, man. But I gotta say, I've never been I'm so impressed by your attention to detail, man. Like when you say like you're a DNC and stuff like that, like that moment where you handed everybody a handwritten thank you card that was personalized to them
Uh,
at the end of that retreat, at Tony's event, I was like, this fucking Pete, bro. Like, God, I'm so jealous of that skill set. And there's something about that, man, and this like quality of touch point and in how you show up. And that doesn't surprise me at all of like the relationships and the reputation that you've built in this industry, man. And I'm just pumped to be your friend, dude. So I appreciate you doing this.
Right back at you, buddy. I appreciate you. And you're making a big splash in this industry, and it's not because of your marketing and just being out there. It's because you're building relationships. And this is a relationship industry. NARPM is a relationship, organization. The more you give back, the more you get back. It just happens. And it doesn't if I give back to Pablo, it doesn't mean Pablo gives back to me, but Pablo may talk to five other people and
Yes.
that comes back to me. I've lived my career, my property management career, NARPM career, just giving back, and it's come to me tenfold.
Love it, dude. Thank you for doing this, bro.
All right, buddy. Good talking to you.